Testing. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Feezo complaining about things. Now I don't know, this might just be a me thing, but I feel like I can't be the only one who thinks it's really cringe when you're talking to somebody and you ask them, oh yeah, so what kind of music do you listen to? And they go, oh, well, I listen to a lot of French indie chamber house. I listen to a lot of post-hardcore cyber trap wave. I'm just a big fan of folk punk power crunk core. I've always just found it really weird when people try to over-describe these music genres that they listen to, and I don't inherently have a problem with subgenres of music as a whole, but I feel like we've reached a point where it's just gotten out of hand. The names specifically, some of the names of these subgenres that I'm going to bring up in this video are just absurd. So anyways, how the flip did this become a problem in the first place? Because this wasn't even a thing until relatively recently. Let's take a flashback to the 1990s. I didn't exist in the 1990s, but I'm using my best judgment here. Let's say it's June 15th, 1991. You walk into a record store and you're looking to buy some new music. The genres that you have laid out in front of you are rock, country, folk, alternative, maybe classical, metal perhaps, and that's pretty much about it. And there's kind of a sense of wonder and whimsy about that. You could pick out 10 different albums in the rock genre and they're all going to sound totally different. It's kind of like a little surprise. You just never really know exactly what you're going to get. But fast forward quite a few years and this little thing called the internet comes along. Now some folks like myself might say that this was the downfall of humanity, but that's neither here nor there. But what that did for music is it allowed people to go on the internet and search for music that they wanted to hear. And naturally, as the internet and search engines progressed, people wanted a more specific way to search for specific things they wanted to hear. So slowly, one by one, these little subgenres of music started popping up, and people started to break down and categorize these bigger genres into these smaller subcategories. And this has really only gotten worse over the years with how much streaming services have evolved over time as well, because streaming really incentivizes these micro niche subgenres, because it's really big for playlisting. The more specific the playlist names and subgenres are, the easier it is to find music that fits into those categories. And you might think this is great from a music consumer perspective because it's like, okay, now I have exactly what I want to hear. But the problem is when we lean in that direction of trying to give the consumer exactly the sound that they want to hear, that is going to trap artists into a box and make all of the music sound the same. Because if you deviate too much from the indie pop genre, you're not going to make the indie pop playlist and people aren't going to hear your music. So artists are now incentivized to fit a mold essentially. And sadly, I know a lot of musicians now who make music in this way, where they're constantly considering in the back of their head, is this going to make a playlist? Is this going to be something that fits within Spotify's mold? There used to be a time when people weren't worried about all that stuff. Like realistically, why should it matter the specific micro niche subgenre of music that you're listening to? Just listen to the music. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. It seems like now people are just doing everything besides just listening to the music. I think the other factor of this that kind of irks me is that we're talking about music here. We're talking about a form of art. So just by nature, it's subjective. And as hard as one may try to fit into a specific mold or genre, there might be one person that agrees that it's chill wave or whatever, but somebody else might totally disagree. I see this all the time in the space that I'm in of indie music. There's always some sort of discrepancy between dream pop, indie rock. Same thing with the whole debate of like, is Deftones shoegaze or nu metal? Frankly, I don't care at all, actually. But I'm totally lying because I do care. I actually kind of do care because it always bothers me when people get the subgenre wrong. Like calling something indie pop when it clearly is indie rock with heavier guitars, heavier drums, just more of an overall rock influence than a pop influence. That always just ticks me off for some reason, and it totally shouldn't because, like I said, it's subjective. You might just have totally different influences and a totally different opinion than I do, but it makes me mad when people are wrong. I hate it. I want to put a theory out there and say that I think part of this also stems from people wanting to feel like they fit in to a certain community or group of people that listens to a specific genre of music. Like it kind of doesn't really feel cool enough for some people to be like, yeah, I listen to rock music. But if I were to say, oh, I listen to math rock or I listen to acid rock or something, you're instantly going to get a lot of people who also like those genres that kind of come together and they're like, yeah, I like those genres too. So you get this kind of sense of community and belonging that people really crave in the era of the internet, where nobody goes outside and talks to people and has a real community. And honestly, I myself get where some of these people are coming from because it's kind of like when I discover a new band and they're really underground, not a lot of people know about them, and then people start catching on. Like let's say one of their songs goes viral on TikTok or whatever, and then I get upset because I'm like, I knew about them way before you knew about them, and then it almost becomes like not cool anymore to like that band. So by condensing all these bands into these tiny weird little subgenres, it almost makes it to where people feel like it's more of their thing, you know? Like it's not big and mainstream, it's theirs, it belongs to them. It's kind of hard to put my finger on what my main grievance is with this whole subgenres thing, but the one thing I know is that the names are weird, dude. Like, some of these genres are really bizarre. Honestly, you could probably search through weird subgenres for the rest of your life and never discover them all, but let's find some notably weird ones. Let's see, we got Simpson Wave, we have Murder Folk, Feral Core, Goblin Core, Core, what the f is Core? It's a TikTok-born aesthetic and video style. Okay, it's more of like a TikTok internet aesthetic than a music genre fully. I don't know, maybe I'm too old to understand core. We have crunkcore, circus metal, egg punk, that definitely sounds interesting, techno, futurism, doom core. There's also a genre just called lowercase. It's an extreme form of ambient minimalism in which very quiet sounds are amplified to extreme levels. Cool. So reading through some of these, I realized another thing that I really don't like about the whole subgenre thing. Just the word core in general. Adding core onto the end of anything just instantly makes it cringe, in my opinion. I've always found it cringe when people describe different aesthetics or whatever as core. The worst one by far is gorpcore. It's like a niche fashion subgenre thing. It's basically where you kind of dress like a hiker. I think gorp is supposed to stand for good old raisins and peanuts. I felt the wave of cringe just wash over me as I said that. But legitimately, all those names like cottagecore, fairycore. I had to look up a few more. Dreamcore, weirdcore, webcore, babycore. What is babycore? Oh, we got barbiecore too. Dude, I just found a Wikipedia page that has a list of every aesthetic ever, and it's the worst thing I've ever seen. Trinket core. Dude, what is... Dude. These are like the most ridiculous thing ever. Literally 3 in a row. We have traumacore, trill wave, and trinket core. These people cannot be serious, dude. This is unreal. Tweencore. What is tweencore? Tweencore, urbancore, vapor goth, witchcore, whimsy goth. Oh my god, dude. Okay, this is like the Gen Alpha side of the internet that I shouldn't be on. Holy moly. Okay, so I think we've just inadvertently found the root cause of why this whole subgenres thing bothers me so much, because it all stems from the Gen Z TikToker vibe overall. So obviously the names of these subgenres are just utterly absurd and deranged, but I'm not gonna act like it's all doom and gloom, because there are some upsides to this whole subgenre thing. Like, obviously, as I said, the whole idea of people finding more of a community with the music that they listen to, which is kind of a double-edged sword, honestly, because you have people who feel like they don't really fit in society, who can go to these different internet groups and communities and feel like they fit in somewhere. But then also, when you have really weird musical subgenres, it kind of brings together weird people, and maybe you don't really want a bunch of weird people in the same space. Like, I don't know, maybe we don't want a bunch of people who all listen to Goblin Core congregating in one area. Just a thought, you know? I don't know. And as I mentioned, it can have its upsides for the music consumer as well, because you're able to get exactly kind of what you want to listen to. But at the same time, we got to be careful with that idea, because if you take that too far, you go into the logic of, oh, well, if I want exactly the type of music that I want, why don't I just generate it with AI and then I can get exactly what I want to hear? Which that is objectively bad. That's something that we don't want to happen. So in my humble opinion, I think we were a lot better off when we didn't have a million billion different subgenres to categorize everything with. Because I don't know, maybe every single thing ever doesn't need a super hyper specific label on it. Obviously it's all speculative because we don't live in an alternate reality, but I personally feel like music would have been a lot better today if we didn't have the intervention of the internet and playlisting and hyper specific subgenres. I will die on the hill that I think humanity and the world would have been better without the internet, but that's not the case. And here we are, and this is our reality. If there's one message that I want to give with this video, is to just make something unique and weird. Don't create with the intention of feeling like you need to fit into a specific category or make it onto a certain playlist or appeal to a certain audience. You might find that you make a lot better music when you look into your influences among the broader genres rather than your influences in the minute genres. Just an idea, do whatever you want, doesn't matter to me. But either way, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. That is pretty much going to do it for me. Let me know which weird subgenre you find the most cringe and any other thoughts you might have down in the comments below. I appreciate you all watching, and I will see you all in the next video.